So the things, excuse me, the things that should be basic is not so basic. Common sense is not so common. And all while she's doing this, America is at home. Now, mind you, she continues to announce aid packages for we know that it's for the military industrial complex, but she continues to announce aid packages for Ukraine. She continues to arm Israel as Israel continues to provoke in the Middle East. She continues to do these things. And at home, there's a civilized, so-called civilized nation. Her civilization is being ripped to shreds with poverty and homelessness and hunger and ethnic strife and culture wars and race divisions and wealth divides. That is not a security issue that matters. Those things are not security issues that need an immediate her immediate attention. Those are things that can be pushed to the back. But Ukraine, 8,000 to 10,000 kilometers away, or even more, is an immediate threat to America's strategic interests. China, which lies thousands and thousands of miles away, is an immediate threat to America's security interests. But the growing strife, dissatisfaction with the political system, the justice system, the wealth divide, all of this stuff is not an immediate security issue for the politicians. This shows you how detached they are and have become from reality and what's really happening on the ground. Okay? It's unreal. Let's go to something. Let's read something. Let's go to one of my favorite blogs to get some of the news, the Economic Collapse blog. An article came out 2 days ago called "How Would You Fix This Colossal Multi-Trillion-Dollar Mess?" And I've never read the article, but we'll go to it together, okay? Give me a second. Let me click on it. I hate these little ads popping up. Okay. And Michael Snyder writes, "Everyone can see the slow motion train wreck that is unfolding right in front of our eyes, but no one has a plan to stop it. Unfortunately, from a short-term perspective, I don't know if there is anything that can be done to prevent the commercial real estate bubble from imploding. Vacancy rates are surging to historic highs all over the nation, and without sufficient rental income, many property owners will be forced to default." Stop right there. And this will have effects throughout the economy. But that is not a major security issue that Congress and the president and the powers that be should focus on. It should be arming Ukraine and letting Ukraine fight the proxy war against Russia to the last Ukrainian. Because the leaders of the leadership have become so outdated and so detached from reality, they have become almost as Samson in a way. You know how Samson, he didn't care about seeing the future. He was so enraged with what he was going through and who did that to him. He was willing to push down the foundations of the building which he was in, the Colosseum that he was in, and he was willing to die and take everybody with him because he was that enraged. That is the mind of the lunatic. That is a mind of the Western world, especially the American leadership. They are now pushing the world towards global thermonuclear war because they can no longer impose their will, dictates, and policies on enemies or allies alike. That's insane. But it is real. And you can hear it when they talk. It's always everybody else's fault. And everybody else is being belligerent except America, even though she has thousands of military bases, as I told you once. And when some people say 800 to 1,000, I told you I was listening years back. I was listening to a congressional hearing, and the military was briefing the Congress. I wish I could find that. And they were talking about the bases, the training hubs, the intelligence, the military intelligence centers, and all of this stuff. And it was over 5,000 together. Over 5,000. Now, with that said, it is not a violation of other nations' sovereignty for America to put bases on their territory. But don't dare suggest hosting other nations on U.S. soil. The people get outraged. This is an affront to American liberty and American sovereignty, but they don't get that outrage when America just ignores the sovereignty of other nations. Right? Are you seeing what I'm saying? And I see the light is going. Hold on, let me see if I can fix this light going in and out. I don't know if it's a program issue or whatever, but just hold on 1 second, okay? Give me 1 second to do this. I think we may have it now. Okay. Excuse me. I think we may have. I turned on another of the lamps or whatever, not the high power light because I can't hardly stand them so close up. But again, that is not an issue when America violates other people's borders, but it's an issue if someone even thinks of violating America's borders. The exceptionalism starts here and it permeates, and then it trickles down into the average person in America. And they don't even hear it or see it when they speak about it or write about it because it's become normal. And normal is not always right. You get some of your most creative and best ideas from not being normal or from what is considered normalcy. Okay, let's go further because I want to hit a point on here. I want to read this with you because I know it has some more stuff in it that we need to talk about. It says, in addition, a giant mountain of commercial real estate mortgages will be up for refinancing over the next few years, and substantially higher interest rates will make refinancing those mortgages exceedingly difficult. We really are facing a perfect storm for the commercial real estate industry, and the fallout is going to be absolutely devastating to U.S. banks. Excuse me. Now, I want you to just breathe a minute. Now, let us think rationally, okay? Now, it always goes back to this. You want to wage war, and wars, plural, with people who are funding your budgets. You want to alienate and continue to provoke nations that uses your currency, which gives you extra perks and more perks than the rest of the world. You are alienating people by sanctioning them, by demonizing them, by provoking them with red button issues. And then at the same time, you want them to feel sorry for you and stay inside of your dollar system. That is insane. Now, according to the dictionary, excuse me, we look at crisis because the name of the show is A Nation in Crisis. We say Wednesday night news, A Nation in Crisis. According to Google, all right, we're going to go to Google real quick. Google has it as an unstable or crucial time or state of affairs in which a decisive change is impending, especially one with the distinct possibility of a highly undesirable outcome, a financial crisis, the nation's energy crisis, a situation that has reached a critical phase. Now, we have learned what crisis is, right? So we can conclusively say and firmly state with a surety that the American Republic, the American Empire, and the Western world and the Western model of finance, politics, and geopolitics has entered a deep state of what? Crisis. Because all that was mentioned in the definition of crisis, we see right now. Remember, let's go over this again. An unstable or crucial time or state of affairs in a decisive change, which a decisive change is impending. Remember what they say, that the rules-based order is now at a inflection point, right? And they're saying that the global South, led by the BRICS nations, are now building their own financial system outside of the dollar, pound, euro debt-based system. Is that not right? So we're looking at a decisive change that's impending, right? That's pending right now. Let's go further. Especially, meaning when you put the word especially, they're drawing attention to something that is very, very important that you look at. So it says especially one with the distinct possibility of a highly undesirable outcome. Undesirable outcome for who? For the American empire and the rules-based order. Because if nations move outside of the dollar, America cannot have this free for all, just printing debt into infinity. And then the rush out of the dollars will cause a flood back within America and the Western world, which will cause hyperinflation, which means that all of the economies that are strongly connected with America and the debt-based system, England, France, Germany, the Western world, will suffer catastrophic consequences, okay? And so it says, one with the distinct possibility of a highly undesirable outcome. Well, what kind of outcome? Well, the definition goes on to say, a financial crisis, the nation's energy crisis, a situation that has reached a critical phase. Now, since it says that, let's see if we can bear witness to that and see if we can prove that America and the Western world has really entered a crisis. What does it say? A highly undesirable outcome, a financial crisis, the nation's energy crisis, right? A situation that has reached a critical phase. So let's look at it. I want you to listen to this short clip here.
All right, welcome back. So this week, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries announced that it is cutting back oil production. What could go wrong? Right now, the national average price of gas is at $3.60 a gallon. That's down roughly 52 cents from a year ago, but still way higher, more than $1 higher than it was under Trump. Some analysts are predicting that gas prices could remain in the $4 range once the cuts take effect, which could hit your wallet real hard once we get into the summer months when people like to go on vacation and drive around and, take boats out. Heaven forbid, do something fun. So how bad could it get, and what should the administration be doing about it? We've already drawn down the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. So here to discuss, let's bring in Chief Economist and Global Strategist Peter Schiff. All right, Peter, this is kind of a big deal, and they did it willy-nilly without notifying anybody until the last minute.
Yeah, I think it's a very big deal. Also, it really flies in the face of U.S. policy, which the Fed is trying to bring down inflation. And clearly, this is complicating those efforts, especially given the fact that we're in the midst of another financial crisis. But not only is the supply of oil going to come down, but the supply of money, U.S. dollars used to buy oil, is going up. The Fed has already gone back to quantitative easing to bail out the banks. So we're printing more money, but we're not producing as much oil. And the world is starting to divest itself of U.S. dollars, which will put more downward pressure on the value of the dollar, which, of course, will put more upward pressure on the price of oil.
Right. But I love it when they use fancy terms like quantitative easing or QE. They say, oh, we're going to do some quantitative easing, folks. They're just printing money. That's all that is. But President Trump made energy independence part of his game. Like that was his shtick. And he was like, guys, we need to do this. Otherwise, we're going to get taken advantage of, and we're going to be at the whim of whoever is pumping the oil. I mean, can we wind and solarize our way out of this?
No, absolutely not. And it's not just energy independence. We need to be able to produce everything. We're dependent on the rest of the world for everything that we consume because we no longer have the industrial capacity that we once enjoyed because of the policies that have been pursued, for decades. We have too much regulation. We have too high taxes and too much government spending. And so we're not producing what Americans consume. We rely on the rest of the world. But the only reason we're able to do that is because the dollar is the reserve currency, and we may lose that privilege over the next several years, maybe even over the next few months. Who knows?
I mean, that is actually, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit later in the show, but this is a huge thing. Let's talk about the BRICS countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. There's been a lot of talk, and they've been trying to do this for years, trade in gold or stock up in this or that, to try to get trade and replace the U.S. dollar for reserve currency. Even if they tack away 25% of global trade from the dollar, how much does that hurt us domestically?
Well, I think it's going to hurt substantially. And once they start moving in that direction, the pendulum is going to continue to swing. There are all sorts of reasons why the world should want to divest of dollars and no longer depend on the U.S. dollar as a reserve currency. But we gave them another one. The Biden administration, in slapping those economic sanctions on Russia, really highlighted how dangerous it is to allow the United States to enjoy this privilege. And so we have scared the world into divesting of dollars, something they should have done anyway because it was in their economic interest to have done so, because it conveys a huge privilege to the United States that has to be paid for by the rest of the world, in that it enables Americans to live beyond our means. We're able to consume all sorts of stuff that we did not produce. And the only reason we could do that is because we could print money that cost us nothing, and our trading partners will accept that instead of actual goods. Yeah. Well, if we lose that privilege, our standard of living is going to implode.
Peter, I have a minute left. So you walk in, you have 30 seconds with Joe Biden, and he's going to do exactly what you tell him to do. 30 seconds, what do you tell him to do to fix this?
Well, he needs to resign, but he also needs to take Kamala Harris along with him. But, what we need is free market capitalism. We don't need more government solutions to government-created problems. Government has to get out of the way so that free market capitalism can clean up the mess that government created.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. It's almost like somebody once said that government is not the solution to our problems. Government is the... Oh, it rhymed with Ronald Reagan. Yeah, Peter Schiff, we appreciate you being here, sir. Appreciate all your insight.
Again, a lot of what Peter Schiff said holds true. Some of it, I guess, a little partisan or whatever like that, but the main things of what he was saying holds true. Now, when he was saying that get out of the way and let the free markets, no. That's not going to help this situation. Let's go back to what the beginning of this article. Listen to what Mr. Michael Schneider has to say. Everyone can see the slow motion train wreck that is unfolding right in front of our eyes, but nobody has a plan to stop it. Unfortunately, from a short-term perspective, I don't know if there is anything that can be done to prevent the commercial real estate bubble from imploding. Vacancy rates are surging to historic highs all over the nation, and without sufficient rental income, many property owners will be forced to default. In addition, a giant mountain of commercial real estate mortgages will be up for refinancing over the next few years, and substantially higher interest rates will make refinancing those mortgages exceedingly difficult. We really are facing a perfect storm for the commercial real estate industry, and the fallout is going to be absolutely devastating for U.S. banks. Now, Gregory Mannarino told me that the situation has become so dire in our talks. He told me these things, that there's nothing that can be done to stop this. As a matter of fact, because of them saying this, just step out, get the government out of the way, and the free markets will do this in the free market. Maybe there was a time when that was possible. But we have reached a point now that it's sealed. The fate of these people in the financial market, the fate of the economy is sealed. When you seal something, you close it, right? You prepare it to be sent off. And the only way to obtain the goods inside of that letter, you have to rip over the envelope, right? So no matter what they do, it's sealed. If they open it, they're going to tear something. They're going to mess something else up. We have bubbles in every area of the economy: the used car market, the new car market, energy, oil, housing, right? All of these things, retail, all of these areas are close to implosion, right? Let's go to something. Because when I gave you that definition of crisis, at the end of that definition, it says a situation that has reached a critical phase. Now, in the definition for critical phase, at the end of the definition, it says this is the period when those who develop severe disease will become critically ill. All right. You're in that state then where the doctor can no longer do anything to help you because the situation has become so dire that, excuse me, my lantern, one of my lanterns fell off of here. I'm sorry. The situation has become so dire that there's nothing that the doctors and the medical staff can do. So they say, listen, you've reached this stage 4 or stage 5 of cancer. You have become critical. So we're going to have to put you, your family won't do not resuscitate. This is what's going on with the financial system. We're close to a do not resuscitate due to the fact of the constant debt. Listen, America, everybody admits this, that America is the largest debtor in the history of the world. There's no arguing over that. That America continues to consume debt. There's no arguing about that. That Europe continues to print money and consume debt like America, right? That England continues to consume and print money and take on what? Debt. Now, if these are facts, because a lot of us, we don't look at facts. We look at scenarios, rosy scenarios. We don't want to look at the reality. When a person shows you who they are, believe them, okay? To ignore that is to your detriment. So, when we look at the situation, and I'm trying to pick up the thing that is on, I'm sorry, everybody, but, and because this is on the fly, but when we look at the situation that America now faces, how in the world can she pay off her debt? Huh? If her debt 10 years ago, her true debt was $222 trillion. And now every economic barometer has shown us that it has gotten so much worse that in every area of the economy that it is unreal. Unemployment is worse. Housing is worse. Homelessness is worse. The companies taking on more debt. The government taking on more debt. The public taking on more debt. All of this stuff is multiples over what it was 10 years ago. And here is the kicker. The nations who helped to finance America are now considered America's enemies. And she's working to overthrow them, destabilize them, or to make war with them. You tell me, even if the government stepped out of the way, how can she recover from that? I got to go back to something. See, I like to prove points. So we're going to go back to something. I want to play a clip for you, a short clip, but I got to go back to something to show you just how severe the debt crisis in America was 10 years ago. Because I heard what Peter Schiff said, and he's telling you what he believes. But I'm going to tell you facts, okay? Well, he's telling you facts too, but it's, we see a little conjecture at that. But I want you to, let's see if we can pull up the clip. Oh, yeah. Listen to this. This is over 10 years ago. And everything has gotten so much worse. Multiples. And let us not forget the derivative market. I want you to understand this clip that I'm about to play for you shows you at the time that the global economy was, I think, was $45 trillion. Then America had more debt than the entire globe. Then, listen to me listen to me again, very good. Back then, America had more debt than the entire globe. And when I say the entire globe, I'm talking about the entire GDP of the planet. So if that is the case, and things are on a multiples worse than it was then, and not only has America taken on more debt, but the globe has taken on more debt. How can stepping away or even involving yourself in it stop what has been ordained? We have to use common sense when we're doing these things. But I want you to listen to what this guy says, okay? So pay close attention.
Lawrence Kotlikoff, economics professor at Boston University. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
It's great to be with you and great to be in Russia.
So you're the one who states that America is broke and is even in a worse state than Greece and Ireland. How so? What exactly do you mean by that?
Well, we economists look at all the bills the government has to pay, and in the U.S. case, we have enormous bills that have been kept off the books that are not official debts, but they're very real. For example, paying me my social security benefits, my old age pension, that's a real obligation. It's not part of official government debt, but it's, very important because there are 78 million baby boomers who are going to get these social security payments, and in addition, medical payments from the government. If you look at all those payments, they're about $3 trillion a year. So we have these huge bills. Nobody has thought about paying for them. And Congress and the presidents over the years have just focused on official debt and basically have not told the public about these big bills.
You said the amount of the fiscal gap in the United States is, in your estimation, $222 trillion. Is this right?
$222 trillion. If you take...
This is like an astonishing number, which is like 3 times the world's GDP. This is more than what the world makes.
20 times higher than the official debt in the hands of the public, which is 11 trillion. So if you add all these spending obligations into the distant future, and you compare them with all the taxes, and you include in the spending all the interest payments and principal payments on the debt, on the official debt, you have 222 trillion in present value. Now this is 12% of GDP on an ongoing basis. In other words, we need to get 12% more of GDP, either in tax increases or spending cuts, in order to have the fiscal gap be zero. We're doing far too little too late. It's like operating on a person with cancer, and you say, well, there's a big tumor here. We're just going to take a little bit out today, and we'll come back in 5 years, and we'll take out some more. But maybe in 5 years, the patient is dead because the tumor got bigger. So this is why we are in worse shape than Greece. And Greece, it's about 10% of GDP they need on an ongoing basis. We need 12%. Italy, it's about 5%. Germany, it's about 5%. So when you look at it from this perspective, it's a whole different story than when you look just at the official debt. Because these governments are making choices, word choices, about what to call official obligations and what to call unofficial.
So are they intentionally hiding the enormity of the problem?
They're intentionally hiding this. They've been spending, in our country, 6 decades running a massive Ponzi scheme, taking from young people, giving to old people, and then telling the young people, don't worry, you'll get yours when you're old. Promising pensions, promising health care benefits. And, this is happening in all countries. Even Russia has a pension system, but it doesn't seem to be in as bad a shape as ours in terms of paying for its benefits in the future.
But this number, 222 trillion, what exactly is this, where is this money going? Who is spending it? Certainly not the average American. What is it, like the 1% of the super rich, the military needs? Where's it going?
Where's all the spending?
Yeah.
Well, you have, again, you've got a lot of old people now. They're getting very high benefits, about $30,000 per person. It's scheduled to go up to about $40,000 when I retire, which will be about 15 years. So you can see that we're just very generous to the old people in our country.
What do you suggest? Like cut spending, raise taxes? That would be suicidal to any American president.
Well, we have to be adults. If we're running the country, we have to act like adults, because our main responsibility as adults is to make sure our kids have a good future. So we have to reduce the growth rate of the benefits to the elderly. And that requires cutting the growth, being much more careful about how much we spend on health care, because it's been the health care benefits have been growing at twice the growth rate of per capita GDP for 40 years. These are the government health care benefits for the elderly. So it can't continue, because it's going to kill the country. So we have a huge problem. It's being hidden. It's not being described and discussed, disclosed, and we're in very bad shape.
You just mentioned that you need to take care of the future generations. Clash of generations is the term you use to describe what future awaits for American children paying up the debts of their fathers. But the United States, when you look at it, it really has lived on debt ever since World War II, and increasingly so in the past 30 years. And they have somehow managed not to collapse, and they have no problem getting new debt. Why do you think that the new generation won't be able to manage it?
Well, over time, the official debt will become bigger and bigger as a share of GDP. And at some point, the Chinese and other people will stop lending us money. And our interest rates will go up dramatically. We'll have a bond market collapse. And at that point, the deficit will get even bigger. The official debt will accumulate even more rapidly. And our government is also printing a lot of money to pay for these bills. So inflation can also take off very quickly. So I see big problems, and they may not be in 30 years, they may be in 5 years or 2 years, that the Chinese and other people start to understand how bad the situation is. And then we'll be in the situation of Greece, where people won't lend us money.
And that's what America fears. Now, back to that article. At the end of that article, at the end of the first paragraph of what we were reading, it says, we really are facing a perfect storm for the commercial real estate industry, and the fallout is going to be absolutely devastating for U.S. banks. Now, according to the dictionary of absolute, it means complete, total, right? And devastating means highly destructive or damaging, destructive, ruinous, disastrous, catastrophic, calamitous, shattering, shocking, traumatic, overwhelming, crushing. So now we get an understanding of just how bad things are. And this is why America is doing everything that she can to try to provoke and stoke wars. You say, well, if she provokes and stoke wars, the people will just move out of the dollar. But she's hedging her bet on that. If I can cower enough nations, they'll continue to maintain dollar hegemony. Therefore, my debts, all my outstanding debts, won't come in at one time, and I can push back some of these liabilities to prevent the collapse and buy me more time so that I can build up my military to try to conquer the world, so that I can never have to pay all my debts. That is the mind of the leadership. You can see it. This is not something that I'm assuming. All one has to do is look at the policies and look at the actions of the people, and then listen to their rationale. Because the leadership's rational thinking is actually irrational to rational people. Okay? Now, they understand this. So, understanding this, let me play a little short clip that goes along with what the guy was telling you about. The nations were going to start moving away from the U.S. debt. They were going to start just saying, you know what? I'm done with this. I am absolutely done with this. And then America would have to deal with her debt unfunded liabilities, her constant spending and printing of money, all of that will come home. The chickens will come home to roost. And this is something that the elite knows. And they're trying to fight like hell to prevent from happening. As a matter of fact, let us go into something. We'll see this in just a few clips right here. Little short clips, because I want to come back to what this professor was talking about, because it has everything to do with the stoking of tensions with China, the stoking of tensions with Russia, the stoking of tensions with Iran, the stoking of tensions with Venezuela, the trying to recolonize Africa under the guise of fighting terrorists and terrorism. The trying to and her logo and her motto that she uses to try to rearm and arm to the teeth her military in Asia is freedom of navigation. We are there to be a hedge against China hegemonic ways, even though it's America that is the hegemon that is trying to maintain her position. Because remember, they let the cat out the bag when they said that China wants to supersede us and China wants to become the number one and the dominant power in Asia. We cannot allow this to happen. America must stay the number one and the most dominant power in Asia. In Asia. They let it out. They let the cat out of the bag. The true reason for the constant provocations and stoking of tensions with China. And this has a great economic component to it, because now the yuan is challenging the dollar. And China is doing it one nation at a time. Currency swap deals, right? Little small nations are, okay, we need financing. Okay, you get financing through the AIIB bank, the Asian Infrastructure Bank. Okay, you can't get it from that. We'll give you funding through the BRICS Bank. Okay, you can't do that. I guess you know what we'll do. We'll hook you up with Union Pay. And that way you'll be outside of the credit system of the West. And then you can get finance from either us, Russia, Iran, or anyone else. So they're doing it with one institution at a time. And America is now seeing this. And this is causing her to frantically flail in the economic waters, and she thinks that she's swimming the breaststroke, but the entire world of onlookers see her drowning. Okay? But listen, let's go to some. Let me play this clip. Where is and the whole world knows it. The whole world knows it. Let's see where it's at right here. See if I download it. I want you to listen to this, okay?
For once, at least IMF has been warning on time about the fragility underlying the entire financial system, which is pointed out in the article in Financial Times, especially targeting the issue of policy, so policy which is made by politics, to try to think what may happen in the banking system, in the credit system, and therefore to take action before this happens, not like it happened in 2008, that they waited too long and then it was a real catastrophe. So, but the wording is quite clear, basically saying central banks are doing their job. We have stabilized the financial system. The inflation is still there, and it is more than we expected, and it will last longer than expected, so probably until 2025 at least. But what is not said in the IMF is that the real problem for the dollar and the financial system is still dollar-centered, is the diminishing flow that comes from the swaps in dollars. Therefore, this is a consequence of a number of states that have decided to denominate their trade in other currencies that are not dollar. And if this increases further, this will diminish the capacity of the dollar to refinance itself and therefore fragilize the entire financial structure. This is what is not said in the IMF, but what I understand from their words.
That is critical there. The IMF talked about they had to revise the global GDP, the global economy. They didn't tell you why. They didn't give you specifics. But these people are looking on, oh, okay, I see why. Because most of the system is denominated in dollars. Now, we see nation after nation flee the dollar. So now America doesn't have the financing that she once had to prop up herself and prop up her institutions and her allies. So now they have to do a real appraisal of what's going on and try to stop other nations from fleeing the dollar. This is what this guy just said in layman's terms. So he said, even though the IMF didn't openly say it, this is what we hear in her words. And of the IMF, they see what's going on. I'm not making none of this stuff up. As a matter of fact, I want to even take you back to a time when around the same time I played you part one of the clip of that professor of economics. This happens around the same time or whatever like that. And the man who coined the phrase full spectrum dominance in his talk about the American empire and its unquenchable bloodlust for total global hegemony and total domination of the globe, Mr. F. William Engdahl. This is what he had to say back then about the state of American affairs and global affairs, okay? You have to pay close attention to this because this is very pertinent and it is very important that you understand the connection of all of these provocations, these wars, and what is going on in the currency markets, the debt markets, and what is going on with the international trade and commerce between nations, okay? All right? And it reached this level then. So if it reached this level that you're about to hear then, and all of the economic barometers have deteriorated for America and the West, how bad do you really believe the situation is? Okay, so pay close attention. And he used a key phrase. Not even Jesus Christ could reverse what's going on. It has become so bad in the Western rules-based order and the Western-led financial system that there's no way out of this situation that we now find ourselves in. The only thing that'll see you through is getting yourself closer to God and trying to live your life better. You think right, you think better, you speak better, you live better, do better, and maybe God will have mercy on you through what is coming.